Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving deep into what I like to call the hidden lungs of your home, the HVAC and ducting system. We spend so much time obsessing over paint colors, kitchen countertops, and flooring, but we totally ignore the complex respiratory system hiding right behind the drywall. And here's the hard truth. Standard construction shortcuts might literally be leaving you out in the cold. So we're going to unpack exactly why that happens and how to make sure your home is built the right way from the start. All right, looking at our agenda for today, we're going to cover the hidden disaster, move into the mastic revolution, fight the friction war, discuss breathing and balancing, and wrap up with red flags and questions.
Let's jump right into section 1, the hidden disaster, and look at some standard build flaws.
So, in a typical construction project, especially in a cold climate, the heating and cooling system is, well, it's often treated like a total afterthought. Because workers are pressured to move fast, they end up using cheap tape and really thin metal. And the shocking result? Up to 15% of the air you pay your hard-earned money to heat leaks right out of the ducts and into your basement ceiling before it ever hits a living space. I mean, imagine just throwing 15% of your heating bill directly into the floor joists every single month. That's basically what's happening. And this builder special approach is exactly why you might end up incredibly frustrated, even in a brand new house. It's the core reason behind that freezing master bedroom at the end of the hall that just never seems to warm up. And it's also why your furnace sounds like a roaring jet engine every time it kicks on. Your furnace is out there working overtime, but the delivery system itself is fundamentally broken.
Which brings us to section 2, the mastic revolution, and how we actually seal those leaks. To fix this massive leakage problem, we really have to look at how ducts are sealed. It's not just about buying the fanciest, most expensive furnace. We care about creating a truly airtight delivery system. When looking at the usual options, you've got the standard method, foil tape. Now, it might be technically code-approved, but over time, as the metal expands and contracts with the heat, that adhesive just dries out, peels back, and the joints start to leak like crazy. But then you have the overbuilt standard. This is bucket mastic. It's a thick, water-based, fiber-reinforced paste. And when it cures, it doesn't dry out, it actually turns into a permanent, flexible rubber gasket that locks the air inside the pipe exactly where it belongs. So to execute this properly, installers absolutely must apply this mastic. They use a high-quality product like Hardcast Iron Grip 601, and they paint it with a brush onto every single joint and seam. The key test you're looking for here is the squeeze out. You want to see that thick gray paste visibly pushing out of the overlapping metal joints. That is the secret sauce. That guarantees a high-pressure, airtight system that will easily last for the next 50 years without a single leak. All right, moving on to section 3, the friction war, looking at rigid versus flex ducting. Right inside your walls, there's literally a friction war dictating how easily the air can travel. Standard builders absolutely love running these long, cheap lines of flexible plastic ducting. Honestly, it's fast, it's cheap, and it weaves around obstacles super easily. But it is a total disaster for performance. Flex duct has incredibly high air resistance, basically friction, and it's so easy to crush or kink during installation, which just absolutely kills your airflow. The overbuilt way, on the other hand, demands that 90% of your ductwork is rigid metal. Rigid metal has incredibly low friction, which ensures the warm air effortlessly and powerfully reaches its intended destination. Now, to be fair, flexible ducting isn't entirely forbidden in a high-quality build. It just needs to be strictly controlled. The golden rule here is that flex duct should be restricted to maximum 5-foot lengths, and it should only be used at the very end of a run, right before the air vent. When you use it in this specific way, it actually acts as an acoustic muffler. It reduces the rushing noise of the air, but without severely impacting your overall flow. Let's roll into section 4, breathing and balancing, focusing on fresh air control. Here's the thing. When you build an airtight house, you absolutely cannot rely on drafty windows to get your oxygen. You need an ERV, or energy recovery ventilator. This is just a brilliant piece of technology that acts as the true lungs of the house. It's an independent system designed to constantly pull stale, moist air out of places like your bathrooms and kitchens, while simultaneously delivering fresh, filtered outdoor air directly into your bedrooms and living spaces.
But the real insider secret here is how that ERV is actually hooked up. You must demand dedicated ERV ducting. A lot of builders will try a cheap shortcut called interlocking, where they basically just dump the ERV air into your main furnace ducts. Don't let them do it. You want rugged, independent systems, something like the Fantech VHR 150, which is fantastic for cold climates, or maybe the ultra-premium Zender ComfoAir. These units need their own dedicated pipes so that fresh air is guaranteed to reach your bedrooms, entirely independent of whether your furnace happens to be running or not. Now, some hack builders might tell you they balance the air using the register covers, those grates on your floor. But register covers only block the air right at the exit. All that does is cause a really loud rushing noise and harmful back pressure on the furnace itself. Instead, you've got to insist that every single duct branch coming off the main trunk line has a manual volume damper. These are these small metal handles right on the pipes themselves, and they allow a technician to properly equalize the air pressure from deep within the system. And finally, Section 5, red flags and questions so you can take control of your build. The good news is you really don't need to be an HVAC expert to spot poor craftsmanship. If you get the chance to walk your construction site while the ducting is exposed, look for these 3 major red flags. First, sagging flex ducts hanging in loops or bent at sharp 90-degree angles. That immediately cuts your airflow by up to 50%. Second, check for unsealed floor boots. The boot is just that metal box that holds your floor vent. It must be caulked or taped really tightly to the wooden subfloor, because if it's loose, your furnace is just blowing warm air under your floorboards instead of into the room. And finally, keep an eye out for lazy pookie fails. So in the trades, mastic is sometimes called pookie. A pookie fail is when the installer only paints the mastic paste on the top and sides of the pipe, the parts that are super easy to reach while they're just standing there, but the bottom of the pipe is left completely unsealed and leaking. So here's a pro tip. Grab a small hand mirror, hold it right under the ductwork, and check the underside of the joints to ensure it's fully coated with that gray paste. To truly empower yourself in this process, I want you to hit your builder with this exact interrogation question before the drywall ever goes up. Ask them, are you using bucket mastic on all duct joints, including the plenums, which are the main air boxes, and will you be installing manual volume dampers on every branch for final air balancing? Their answer is going to instantly tell you everything you need to know. If they try to tell you foil tape is fine and register covers are enough, they're giving you a hack job. A real pro will gladly confirm they use mastic, dampers, and third-party air balancing. Ultimately, your most actionable step as a homeowner is remarkably simple. Just walk into that basement during the mechanical phase. If you don't physically see a worker down there holding a messy paintbrush and a bucket of gray paste, they simply aren't sealing your system the right way. It is honestly the easiest visual check you can do to protect your entire investment. So as we conclude this explainer, I really want you to ask yourself, are your home's lungs breathing easy? Or are they struggling against cheap tape, crushed flex lines, and massive air leaks? Knowing these details puts all the power back in your hands. If you found these insider building secrets valuable, please hit that subscribe button and give this explainer a like so we can keep bringing you these deep dives to make complex topics crystal clear. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.